Everybody, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Claire and this is The Singing Sewist, where I talk all about my sewing journey and also sometimes about my singing journey. But today we're on another sewing video. So as a comment on one of my earlier videos, one of my friends who also sings in the choir suggested that she might like to see a video about my about the best online pattern resources. But I think that's quite a big area to cover. So what I've done is I've slightly tweaked it. So Tracy, if you're watching, I hope this is okay. But what I've decided to do instead is my top 10 indie pattern companies. Because most of those are online, well, in fact, they are all online. The majority of them are PDF based. You can get printed patterns from some of them, but a lot of the time I go online and I download the PDFs. I have a bit of a mixed view on PDFs. Sometimes I like having the physical bit of paper because I am very much a paper person, but I also do enjoy having the PDF because that means I can print it as many times as I like. It saves me having to trace because I don't like tracing patterns. I do it if I have to, but I don't enjoy it. So I'd rather print the PDF, and then if I want to tweak it or do it a different size or change it somehow, I can print it again and I can chop it up at will. So although it's indie pattern designers specifically, they are all online, so it kind of fulfills the online pattern criteria as well, hopefully. And I will just caveat it by saying these are my personal favourites. There are loads of others out there which are equally as good, some may be better. I maybe just haven't come across them yet, and that's the beauty of sewing and the sewing journey I'm going on, is that I get to discover new things all the time. So if anyone's got any suggestions, or if I don't mention ones that they really love, pop them in the comments below and I'll take a look. So we're going to do this in true game show style, reverse order. So we'll start with number 10, and my number 10 is Paper Theory patterns. Now I'm going to be popping hopefully some pictures all around me, if I've left myself enough room, of the various outfits I've made from these pattern companies. So we're starting off with Paper Theory patterns, and you'll have to excuse me, I've got notes written down here, so if you hear some rustling, that's what it is. I'm looking at my notes. What did I put on this one? So these are a company based in New Zealand. That I've only made a couple of, well, I've made 3 patterns I think from them. If I come across any more, I'll pop pictures in, and I'm also going to link down below all of the websites of all of the people I'm talking about, so that you can go and explore for yourself and see what patterns they have to offer. But yeah, they're based in New Zealand, Paper Theory patterns. They sizing wise, instead of giving you like all of the size ranges for all of the measurements, I'm just focusing on bust measurements because I think that's gives you quite a good idea of what their ranges are. So their bust measurements go from a 31.5 inch up to a 56 inch. So quite a good range, not as much as some of them, but still pretty decent. I'm also going to give you what height they draft for, because one of the things I find as only a tiny 5'4" person is that a lot of the patterns are drafted for taller than me, so I'm quite often having to shorten them, particularly the bodice, because as I think I said in an earlier video, I'm quite short-waisted, so I quite often have to reduce bodice height. But Paper Theory draft for a height of 5'7", so that's 3 inches taller than me, so I do have to reduce the size on those. Although the patterns I've made, I haven't actually done that because I can get away with it on all of these patterns. So things I like about Paper Theory are the patterns I've made I've particularly enjoyed. So I've made the Zadie jumpsuit, which I've made several times for both myself and for my daughter. and that's one I really love. That one I can get away without adjusting the height, but I probably should give it a go because it does come quite long and you end up with quite a low crotch, but that doesn't bother me, so I go with it. So yeah, I've made the Zadie jumpsuit, I've made the Agnes pyjamas, and I've made the LB pullover, which I was quite late to the LB pullover party, but having made a few now, I absolutely love it. So there will be more coming up this autumn winter, no doubt. I'm going to do like likes and dislikes. Dislikes on this one, just the fact that they draft for a 5'7", and that's not me. So that's it for paper theory patterns. That was number 10. So next on my list at number 9 is Liesl & Co. And I'll put in some pictures again, but you'll see, in a minute you'll see there's only really 2 patterns I've made from Liesl & Co. But I've made both of those patterns several times, so I do really like them. These were, the founder of Liesl & Co. is originally from New York, but is now based in Spain. So I think the company is now based in Spain. Sizing wise, they go from bust of 35 inches up to 46 inches. So not very size inclusive. It's quite a small range, this one. Height, they draft for 5'6", so that seems to be the average for most of these companies, to be honest. So I'm a little too short for all of them, but that's no problem. 2 inches, so I can reduce. Now that I've got into the habit of altering patterns, it's not a problem. Likes, the thing I like about this company is the cintra top. I'll put several pictures in. I just love this top. I just think it looks nice on me, and it's quite an easy make, and it's also doesn't take much fabric, so you can get it out of quite small leftover bits of fabric. So I've quite often made something else, another top or a dress or something, and then made a cintra top out of the leftovers, which is really handy. The only other one I've made, I think, is the maritime tee. But yes, so it's only a couple of their patterns that I've made, but I do love both of them and I've made them multiple times. So that's why they've made it into my list. Dislikes, don't really have any dislikes as such, just I haven't really explored any more of their patterns. So that's why they're only hitting at number 9, because I've only made a couple of patterns of theirs. So that's Liesl & Co. Moving on to number 8. And coming in at number 8 is Style Arc. These are an Australian company, and their sizing ranges from a bust of 30.3 inches, which is quite specific, but 30.3 inches, I think it's because it's all done in centimetres, but I don't work in centimetres, so it's probably just converted weirdly. But yeah, 30.3 inches up to 67 3/4 inches. So that's a really good size range on this one. I think probably the biggest range of all of the ones I've looked at, so that's really good. Height wise, they draft for a height of 5'6", so again, not too far off, a couple of inches reduction, not a biggie. Likes, what do I like? I like their interesting styles. Some of them are very much not for me. There's some quite shapeless styles that they have, but some of them I do really like, and I've hopefully found some pictures to pop in of the ones I've made. They do quite a lot of patterns for both woven and knit, which sometimes you'll find pattern companies focus on one or the other, but they've got quite a good range across the board. And yeah, I find their website easy to use, patterns easy to find. Dislikes, now I've put in here instructions because it's kind of fairly well known that Style Arc patterns have brief, shall we say, instructions. So it kind of assumes a level of knowledge before you even start. I've put that as a dislike, but actually I quite like it because I like to test myself sometimes when I'm sewing, and I do like to go from the briefest of instructions and see if I can work it out. And if I can't, there's usually a YouTube video or a tutorial somewhere that somebody's made it before and will talk you through it. But so I've kind of got the instructions under like and dislike, weirdly, but there we are. So yeah, that's style arc. Moving on to, where are we on now? Number 7. I have to switch to a different piece of paper for this because I did these in a weird order earlier. Number 7, I've got Fibre Mood. This is, they're based in Ghent, how do you spell it? Ghent. I never know how you say it. I say Ghent, but I'm not sure that's correct, which is in Belgium. They bring out a magazine, I think monthly, but I can't swear to that. And the magazine has lots of different new patterns each issue, and in the back you get the actual patterns which you can trace off. I'm not, as I said earlier, I'm not a fan of tracing, and as I understand it, because I've never actually had the magazine, but as I understand it, the patterns are all kind of interlinked, so it's quite difficult to see what you're tracing off. That just seems like too much effort to me. But what they do also do is, once that magazine issue has passed and the next one has been released, I think you can then go online and buy the individual patterns. So you can pay to download the individual patterns, which is what I've done on a few of mine. So I've made the Norma top. I've made the Georgie top, which you've seen a few times recently, one of my favourite tops. I think that's probably it, but if I find any more, I'll pop them in somewhere. The sizing ranges from a bust of 30 inches to 57.5 inches, so quite a good range. Not as much as some, but not bad. Height-wise, they draft also for 5'6". Like I said, that seems to be the norm for a lot of patterns. What do I like? I like the interesting patterns, different style lines. The Georgie top particularly, I've not seen anything like that anywhere else, with the pleated top and then the flowing rest of it. Yeah, it pleats around the top and then it floofs out, as I think I said in my chat with Sam, and accidentally flashed the camera. I did edit that out though. So yeah, I like the interesting style lines and just different designs that you don't see anywhere else. Dislikes, the magazine, I couldn't deal with that. I don't think I'm ever going to be a subscriber to the Fibre Mood magazine because I'm not going to be doing that much tracing. I would much rather download the PDF and print it out myself and cut and stick it together, because given that my kind of gateway, if you like, into sewing was through paper crafting. I used to make cards and do scrapbooking, all that sort of thing. I'm not averse to a bit of cutting and sticking. I do like sticking PDFs together. It's another hobby which is part of my sewing hobby. So there we are. So that's Fibre Mood for you. Again, like I said earlier, all the links for everything will be in the description box. So go have a wander. Fibre Mood have got loads of patterns on there. Go and have a look and see if there's any you fancy. So that was number 7. Now we're on to number 6. This is Sew Over It. They are London based. They were founded by Lisa Comfort. Size wise, they go from a bust of 31 inches up to 57 inches. They also draft for a height of 5'6". Likes, what do I like about Sew Over It? I have quite I don't know what you call it, a fond memory of them, because they were one of the first independent pattern companies I came across when I started back into my sewing journey. And one of the first things I made of their patterns was the pussy bow blouse, which, if Jeff, my hairdresser, is watching, will give him a giggle. He always loves it when I talk about my pussy bow blouse. They have quite a they sort of started out more as with vintage patterns, so like 1940s, 1950s style, but they've branched out a lot in recent years, so they've got all different kinds of designs. So dislike is that quite a few of their patterns are more vintage inspired, and that's just not really my style. Nothing wrong with them, they're beautiful patterns, I just don't think they would suit me, so I don't use them that often. Having said that, one of the patterns they brought out which I definitely thought I didn't like was the Hetty dress. Yeah, the Hetty dress. I actually then bought the pattern earlier this year, made a dress from it for Plymouth Frocktails, and absolutely loved it. So it just goes to show you can't always tell if you're going to like a pattern just by seeing a picture online or by seeing the line drawings. Sometimes you've just got to give it a go and see what it looks like on you. So even though their style, a lot of their style is not necessarily for me, I still might give it a go. So that was number 6, so over it. Number 5 is swim style patterns. This is a new pattern company that I only really came across recently. They're an Australian company, another Australian. They draft, their size range goes from a bust of 32 inches up to 48 inches. So not that big a range in sizes. Height wise, they draft for a height of between 5'4" and 5'6". So that's slightly better for me because a lot of their patterns I don't need to reduce height on. I can just do them straight out of the pack, which is great. What do I like about them? They've got some great designs. It's kind of, I don't know if it's typical Australian style, but it's sort of, it feels quite laid back and relaxed. It's a lot of kind of what I would call elevated loungewear. So I've made the Carla loungewear set, which is a stretch kind of sweatshirt and leggings. But it's got lovely puff sleeves with elastic round the waist, and it's just the way it's drafted, the shape of it just looks really smart and nice, even though it's just a sweatshirt. I've made the Carla, no, that was the Carla. I've made the Andy set, which is the top with the drawstring up the front and matching skirt. I've made the Tamarama set, which is elasticated trousers, wide leg trousers, and the overshirt. Made a couple of those sets recently, including the jungle print one. So yeah, I like the shapes, but one thing I particularly like about them is that they are a mother-daughter team. The company is Justine and her mother, who I don't remember her name, I'm afraid. But I obviously have a very close relationship with my daughter, and we like to do things together. So I just love the fact that it's another mum and daughter doing stuff together, running a business and designing patterns. That just appeals to me. Dislikes, size inclusivity. It doesn't have a great range of sizes, but they're a fairly new company, I think, so maybe that will expand in years to come. That's swim style patterns. Right, number 4, we're back on the other piece of paper again for this one. Number 4, I've got Fabric Godmother. I absolutely adore Fabric Godmother in terms of fabrics, and if you haven't been on their website and had a look, I apologise now if you go and have a look on my recommendation, because you may end up spending a lot of money, because they've got some gorgeous designs, amazing fabrics. Their denims are like really top quality. I love their viscoses. I've bought several from them in the past and probably will buy several more from them. But they've also branched into pattern drafting fairly recently. So I think they have 4 patterns that they've released. I have 3 of them and have made 3 of them and love them all. The only one I haven't made is the Carla trousers. They're all sort of flower based. So we've got a peony dress, an aspen dress, fleur dress and then these Carla trousers. And the only reason I didn't make them is it's a style that doesn't particularly appeal to me. And I have the Carla loungewear set already, which is sort of a flared jogger, which is basically what the Carla trousers are. The only difference with the Carla ones is that it has an option of a stripe down the side, but I could easily hack that if I wanted to do that on the swim style patterns ones, which I've forgotten the name of already, and I've said it like 3 times. Oh goodness. Nope, I can't think what they're called. Anyway, look back on the video and you'll see what I was talking about. So yeah, like I said, they've only got 4 patterns so far. 3 of them I've made and loved. One just doesn't particularly appeal to me, but other people have made it and think it's great. Dislikes, I don't really have many dislikes, only the fact that they do only have the 4 patterns, but I've no doubt they will be bringing out more and more fabrics to go with them. Yeah, expensive times ahead. So that's Fabric Godmother. Number 3, we're getting into our top 3 now. At number 3, I have put Closet Core patterns. These are a Canadian company. I didn't realise they were Canadian, but they are. And in 2024, so last year, which I thought it was longer ago, but when I looked it up online, it said it was last year, they actually kind of took over or incorporated Deer & Doe, which is French pattern company, which I have also had several patterns from and made up. So I like both Closet Core and Deer & Doe, and now they're kind of all under one umbrella. So what's not to love? Sizing wise, Closet Core patterns are great in that they have B cups and D cups. The B cup bust range size goes from a 31 inch up to a 46 inch. And on the D cup, it goes from a 42 up to a 60. So quite a good range of sizes there. They draft for a height of 5'6", standard. What do I like about Closet Core? I think I put it in at number 3 just because of the number of patterns I've had from them and made up. I particularly like my Kelly anorak. I particularly like, what else have I had from them recently? Pietra pants, lots of different patterns from them. I think their style just appeals to me. The only one I've not enjoyed particularly on me was the dress I made. Can't remember what it's called. I will pop it along the bottom of the screen here because I can't remember it. And I think that was just the style didn't really do it for me. I'll pop a picture in as well so you can see what I mean. I think it just kind of swamped me a little, which is a shame because I absolutely love the fabric I used. What I'm thinking of doing is chopping the top off and just making it into an elasticated skirt, a tiered skirt, because I do love the skirt part of it. I think it's just there's too much fabric on the top for me. It just sort of swamps me a bit. But I have made a version for my daughter as well, and she looks really great in it. So it's not the fault of the pattern. It just was too much fabric for me, I think. I don't know. But yeah, so I don't really dislike anything particularly about Closet Core, just I've had some successes, some failures, but then you get that with all pattern companies. So that's number 3, Closet Core. And number 2, I feel like I should do a drum roll. That was really rubbish, wasn't it? Number 2 is Friday Pattern Company. Now I thought that they were either French or Australian for some reason, and don't know where I got that from, but it turns out that that Chelsea, the lady who founded Friday Pattern Company, is from Santa Cruz in California. So Who knew? So it's an American company. What I didn't know until today when I was doing research for this, because believe it or not, I did actually make notes and everything. What I didn't realise is that they donate 5% of their proceeds to various charities on kind of a rotating basis, which is an awesome idea. I love that about them. Size-wise, they draft from a bust of 32 inches up to 60 inches. They're mostly B cup, but they do have some C/D cups, so quite a good range again. Height-wise, 5'6", standard. What do I like? I like the fact that their patterns kind of suit my style, and they always go together well. They're well drafted, good instructions. One of my favourite tops ever is one of theirs, which is the sagebrush top. I've made that so many times, and I've made so many different variations of it, with frill, without frill. I've put shearing elastic in the sleeves. I've done all sorts to it. I just love the basic shape of it, and the fit is really good on me. Minimal adjustment. I don't think I've had to adjust the fit at all. Literally just made tweaks to make some slight design choices. So yeah, I've made quite a few of their patterns and really love them. Dislikes? I couldn't think of any actually. Nope, don't dislike anything about Friday Pattern Company. So there we are. That's number 2. So then finally, the number 1 is Tilly and the Buttons. I think this would be a fairly popular choice for a lot of people. Size-wise, they do a UK size 6 to 34, which is a bust of 30 inches up to 60 inches. So again, decent range. They draft for a height of 5'5", so only 1 inch taller than me, and I think that's because Tilly is only tiny herself, so she doesn't draft for as tall as others. What do I like about them? I have nearly all of their patterns, so I must like something about them. Their instructions are great. They are well drafted. I like the styles. Their bodice block fits me well, so I don't have to adjust that at all. Yeah, I just like most things about them. Dislikes? Some of the patterns, and I'm thinking of the Samara top here in particular. When I first look at them, and particularly on the pattern envelope, I think, I'm not really sure. When the Samara came out, it was just in time for the knitting and stitching show in March this year, I think. And I saw it on the stand, and my daughter said, "Are you going to buy that?" I'm like, not really sure, not bothered about it. But then I saw lots of people's versions made up on Instagram and YouTube and thought, I do actually really like that. So I bought the pattern. I've only made one so far, but there will be more because I do really like it. So it looks simple, and it is quite a simple top, simple construction, but you get options with it. You get different sleeve options, and you get a different lengths. You can have a crop length or a long length. I think I did somewhere in between. So although the designs can look really simple, they can also be very effective if you make them your own, and you can hack them and tailor them to how you like them. So, and I know some people think that Tilly only produces patterns for beginners. But again, just because it's simple doesn't mean it doesn't look good, and sometimes it's nice to just have a nice easy sew. So yeah, that was my number 1, Tilly and the Buttons. So that's my top 10. All the information I will put below if I remember, and I will hopefully have been popping in some pictures of examples of makes that I've made. So I would love it if you would let me know below what you think of my top 10. Are they your favourites as well? Do you have other favourites? I will give an honourable mention to, or whatever ones have I used. I will give an honourable mention to Itch to Stitch. I've made a couple of their jumper patterns and really like them. Named Clothing, made a few of those, quite like those as well. Nina Lee, currently in the middle of making the Cubello jumpsuit, which is looking pretty good, I think. So there are lots of other designers as well that I've not included in my top 10, but I do make patterns from them. And Helen's Closet is another great one. Oh, there's loads of them. It's too many to list all at once. What I will also draw your attention to, though, is an excellent online resource, and that is the Fold Line. If you've not come across the Fold Line before, they have a website. They're on Instagram, YouTube, and Kate from the Fold Line does a video every Sunday with new pattern releases. She also usually does a follow-up video straight after the Great British Sewing Bee with their pattern picks for the items on that week's Sewing Bee. I don't think she did one this week unless I've missed it, but yeah, that usually follows along. So I'll pop their website down below as well, because they have patterns from all different indie and big four designers. So if you're ever at a loss to think, I want to make a coat, let's say, and I don't know where to start, I don't know which pattern company to look at, pop onto the Fold Line. They've got lots of different filters along the top, so you can put in the drop down women's clothes, coat. Either you can specify if you want a PDF or you want a physical paper copy, and then search, and they'll just bring up all the patterns, all the coats, and you just pick which one you like the look of. It's an awesome resource. You can buy the patterns through them as well, or you can just find the ones you like and go direct to the company. Yeah, I would thoroughly recommend the Fold Line. They're a great resource. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. Looking forward to hearing what your top 10 would be. Give me a thumbs up and a follow or subscribe on here, isn't it? Give me a thumbs up and a subscribe, and let's hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.